Welcome back to Let's Talk Tuesday. This is the podcast where we have real conversations about learning, leadership, and what it truly takes to help people and organizations grow. Each week, we bring together different perspectives, experiences, and voices to explore what learning development really means, why it matters, and how we can do it better. Today, we have a very special guest, Brian Gorman from Hoboken, New Jersey, who has over 5 decades of experience in and as a leadership advisor, executive coach, and wisdom circle keeper. Welcome, Brian.
It's great to be here with you. Thank you.
So I don't think I've ever heard the bucket wisdom circle keeper. So I definitely need to start there. What is wisdom circle keeper?
Well, it's a long story,
Tell us.
but I will sort of highlight it now, and then we may want to get back into it later in our conversation. Wisdom circles are based on indigenous tradition, and they're a place where we focus on building the collective wisdom of it might be a leadership team, it might be a frontline team, it might be any kind of collection of people who are facing the same challenges, facing the same opportunities, but don't necessarily know how to get through them on their own. And so typically, and I am currently hosting two of these a month that are open to the public. They're 90 minutes. They're very reflective. They are each of us sharing our own wisdom about whatever the topic is and learning from the wisdom of others.
Oh, I love it. So like raising the collective together and bringing everyone together. That's great. So talk to me a little bit about your background and what your current focus is today.
So, the common thread through my career, and it actually started before my career, it started as a freshman in college. The common thread is people going through change. And so that has taken many forms over the years. Probably my first paid job in people going through change was as a drill sergeant in the Air Force in the early 1970s. That certainly is people going through change and building a working, functioning team, functioning organization out of 48 diverse individuals from around the country every 6 weeks. It took the form of being a change management consultant for many years, and over the last 10 years has evolved into different focus areas of focus as a coach. The world that I focus on today is the intersection of artificial intelligence and human wisdom in organizations.
Mm.
And how do we bring AI into being in ways that elevates the collective wisdom in the organization and applies the collective wisdom to the intelligence that AI brings?
Yeah, that makes sense. And I talk a lot about this, but there's a lot of fear around AI right now. And I keep saying it's an enhancement tool like anything else. To your point of like it's a repository. We've had other forms in the past of how people would share that collective wisdom, and it's really an enhancement tool for people to use, not as a replacement.
Unfortunately, you and I agree, but not every leader is treating it that way.
They don't fully understand it yet. But let me tell you something, how many calls I've gotten because people are like, I laid off all these people and now I don't have people to do the thing, to work
Yeah,
the tool.
well, not only that, I just published I publish a weekly Substack, and the one that came out today talks about the loss of organizational memory.
Mm-hmm. And we used to have that with
Many,
retention stuff, right? Like, so you'd have these people who had been sometimes their whole careers, but many, many, many years inside of one organization, and the retention knowledge and the succession planning was not strategic, was not thoughtful enough, where you would lose that when people would retire or people would age out of whatever. And and so there's definitely more of an opportunity now more than ever to be able to try to retain at the very minimum, like from an exit interview standpoint or something. Ideally, it would be sooner in the process than that. But, it sounds like that's kind of the work that you're doing.
Absolutely, absolutely. What I'm really trying to focus on, there are so many um, challenges to getting AI right. And I'm not the technical side of AI. I'm not going to tell you what systems, what technologies are best for your organization. But um, I am in my background, my undergraduate degree was cultural anthropology. And so one of the things I looked at several months ago was the steam engine. And I think AI is as has the potential or is in fact as disruptive today as the steam engine was when it came into being. And really, the steam engine disrupted physical labor. AI is disrupting human judgment.
Mm,
And so, what lessons can we learn from the steam engine? One of the challenges that leaders are missing right now is that the decisions they're making now are becoming habit, they're becoming process, they're becoming the way things are. And just like with the steam engine, they may serve well in the short term, but they don't serve well in the long term. And I'll just give you one example. AI, like every technology, is an accelerator,
yeah.
and it is accelerating decisions.
Hmm.
And many organizations are proud of the fact they are now able to speed up decision making and action. But what happens in doing that is you're taking the time out that used to be spent for reflection, for challenging, for taking different perspectives around something,
I'm
and
researching.
and researching and all
Yeah.
of that. And so AI is doing that quote analysis for you, and then you're running with the answer.
Hmm.
And you're really telling people their thinking doesn't matter as much anymore. And yet it is the people at all levels of the organization that have the insights that AI will never have.
Yeah. And one of my favorite facilitators, and people have definitely heard me say this before, but one of my favorite AI change agents that I love and talk about all the time, her formula is human, AI, human. You can't just accept what comes back. Just like you can't accept everything that you read or see. You have to cite the sources. You have to understand, is this really, you can't just take it at its face value. You have to work with it to get to the best solution and not just accept at face value.
Absolutely. I was watching a presentation today by someone who has developed this technology where um, they actually bring multiple AI, Claude and Chat and so forth. I think they bring five of them together to address any question, any issue that you're putting out there. And so the five of them come together, and eventually it all comes out to one. But there is a human checkpoint at each cycle. And I even commented in the chat about the wisdom of doing that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So to bring in the human factor, because that's really, at the end of the day, that's the most important part. Because there's a lot of things that AI can help with, but it's that decision that's going to be so critical to not only the individual human, but like the organization as a whole, because an organization doesn't mean anything. It's a collection of people, right? So tell us what learning development means to you in your world.
For me, the most important thing about learning and development, well, a couple of things. Today, we have to learn how to unlearn
Hmm.
because we need to continue to um, gain new perspectives, to um, gain new skills, to retool, if you will. So that's a piece of it. The most important thing in the learning and development work I've done over the last decade or so has been around application.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll give you an example of that. For several years, I was contracted with a professional development firm that did a lot of group coaching along with individual coaching. And we developed a group coaching model where the learning took place asynchronously.
Mm-hmm.
So when people came together in the group cohort, and they were 6 or 8 people, the focus was on the development. How do I take what I have learned and apply it? And then typically that group coaching was paired with individual coaching so that I could further focus on the development, and the accountability came through the individual coach and the next meeting of the group. Um, so for me, learning and development today is ultimately about application,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
not just.
I say experience a lot. I have a one of my major clients who's in pretty much every country in the world. It's about 200,000 people around the globe. They have a very similar model. It's learn, do, engage, right? You learn it yourself, then you practice it, and then you actually engage with others to further your accountability and also your application. So it makes complete sense. So you touched on this a little bit, but why is learning and development so important, especially in today's world with what we're going through?
I'm 76. My first computer was a dual floppy IBM PC.
Uh-huh.
If I wanted to run spell check, I had to change the disks. If I took that as my technology learning and stopped learning then, you and I would not be having this conversation. The pace of change continues to accelerate.
Mm-hmm.
One of the reasons that I do a podcast as a host, I have 168 of my podcasts out in the world right now, is I want to share what I've learned with others. But there's also a very selfish reason. I keep on learning.
Mm-hmm.
I learn from my guests. I learn from what they wrote. I learn from our conversations. I've seen too many people who are my age and even younger retire
Mm-hmm.
and say, I don't have to learn anymore.
Mm.
Well, the fact that you're not learning doesn't stop the world from changing.
Mm-hmm.
And you become more and more disconnected with the world and the people around you.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, learning and development is really an ongoing way of keeping up, if you will. I think when I think of the coaching that I do, that is not specifically around the AI world. One of the significant challenges that so many leaders are facing today is the intergenerational workforce.
Mm-hmm.
How do I lead a team of um, 3, 4 different generations, each of whom brings a different perspective about what work is
Mm-hmm.
and the role work should play in their lives and so forth. And oh, by the way, not everyone in any one of those generations actually fits the stereotype. So
Right.
I'm leading even more.
Yeah.
Um, Back when I was a young and in the workforce, there was just us boomers, and there was just one way of leading them. So uh, to me, learning and development is a key. And if you look at um, and I think it was a Deloitte study that came out late last year, early this year. Um, One of the three most important factors for millennial and Gen Z in the workforce today is professional development.
Mm-hmm.
And so if organizations are not invested in developing your workforce, um, you're in trouble. You
Yeah.
are in trouble. And just one more piece of that, um, as we see AI taking an increasing role inside of organizations, um, people can be reskilled, and committing to the reskilling, learning, and development of your workforce uh, sustains that institutional memory we were talking about earlier. It builds morale and engagement and commitment to the organization because you care about me enough to help me develop a whole new set of skills that I am passionate about applying back on behalf of your organization.
Yeah, and it's not only the human investment. I mean, you're also talking about it's better cost for the employers, for the organizations, because you already have someone who's ingrained in your culture. You already have people who are committed to it and to the team. And so instead of disruption of get rid of you, find someone who has the skill set, you're building, you're growing together, and you're moving in the same direction together. And so that way you really have that loyalty and that, you know, it's not it's good business, right? It's smart business because it's to upskill someone is very different than to reskill them. And so you're leveraging your resources better and you're helping your people and your organization collectively.
I want to give as one example a client I was working with several years ago now, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, globally recognized organization that began a program of promoting hourly employees into the salaried ranks based on capability, not education.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that they learned very quickly was that those employees could take the concepts that were being taught in the group coaching programs and say, here is a challenge of bringing that concept to the workforce that I came out of. And so let's figure that out together rather than just bringing somebody in because they have the college degree, let's say, and giving them that same concept and expecting them to go apply it successfully to the workforce. So they don't know the culture, they don't know the behavior patterns, they don't know the way people are thinking and doing their job, and they don't know where the workarounds to the processes are that people have found actually get the job done when the process doesn't.
Right, exactly. That makes complete sense. What do you wish companies knew or did differently as it relates to learning and development?
First of all, I wish they would invest more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, Second, there's real value in investing in um, learning technologies, but stop and think for a minute whether when you have been through book learning, if you will, how consistently you have applied that learning to the workplace versus that kind of model that you were talking about or the model that I was talking about that says that learning off of the learning management system, that learning off of the books, that learning in the classroom is only step one.
Right. And then what? Right? It's okay, you learned something, you heard something, but how are you applying what you learned and how are you keeping it going? Because sometimes people come back and they're very excited, and for 2 weeks they do change their behavior, but then they slip back. Things get busy, or something happens, or it's a new project, and they slip back into old behavior. So it's also not just doing it, behavior change, but also retaining it and then preparing for the next one. Because, like you said, change cycles are so fast these days. It's a never-ending cycle these days.
Or,
Well, yeah,
excuse me,
yeah. Tell
or
me.
the boss says, "Why are you doing that?"
Right. Two weeks after saying like go do that, and then like wait, you because 2 weeks ago. Exactly.
I expected you to go to the class, not to. Well, and I'll give you a very scary example from my long past. Um, was doing change management training at a nuclear facility, nuclear
Oof.
power plant.
Yeah.
And the first day, people came in. I had to have a sign up sheet. They'd sign up on the sign up sheet and they'd say, "I'm going for coffee." And let's say that the class was supposed to start at 9. We had two people sitting in the classroom with coffee at 9. And I'm waiting, and 5 after 9, there are two people sitting in the classroom waiting. And I said, we're going to wait until people get back. We've got 15 people who have signed in. And one of the two people looked at me and they said, "Oh, no, no, don't bother waiting. The requirement is that you sign in for the training, not that you attend it."
Oh boy. Yes, that is scary, especially with the word nuclear in front of it, but I digress. So, we've covered a lot of ground today. We try to keep these short and sweet. So, one thing that I always like to ask, especially with someone of your experience and background, what is one actionable tip that people can take today and apply? Because again, application matters, right? Apply in their world today. What have you got for us?
Learn how to use AI.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And just one quick tip on that
Hmm.
is whatever you want to research, whatever you want to accomplish. Let's say I want AI to help me write a keynote that I have to give. Uh, what most people do is they develop the prompt, they put it in, and they take the output. Ask AI what questions it has for you before it fulfills that prompt. And I AI is my brainstorming buddy.
Hmm.
I'm a solopreneur. AI is my brainstorming buddy. And there are times when we will have an hour long exploration before I have reached an answer that I'm comfortable with.
No, that's what it's funny because a year ago I was having a conversation with someone and they said the same thing. Like, it's not just about prompt engineering and asking the perfect question or even giving the perfect context. It's the back and forth interaction that makes it so much more skilled. And, checking, well, why did you say that? And what other questions do you have for me? And I think that that's the perfect word for it. It's brainstorming, right? I always say when I'm talking to someone, I like having like a sparring partner, right? Like, you say one thing, let me try to take a different perspective, let me try to take this perspective and ask it a different way and how do we get to this? But that is an amazing tool that we have at our disposal now with AI, regardless of which one you use, because you can use it as that kind of thought partner. But again, don't let it think for you. Make sure that you are in there. And it sounds like if you're having hour-long conversations, and you're definitely in there.
And if you're asking for facts, make sure you not only ask for the source, but that you verify the source.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Brian. This was great.
I really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you.
And with that, we'll begin to wrap up. So I hope this discussion gave our audience a few new perspectives, sparked some ideas, and left you with at least one takeaway you can put into action immediately. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and join us every Tuesday as we continue exploring learning, leadership, and what it takes to help people and organizations grow. And if today's conversation resonated with you, or if you'd like to join me for a future episode, I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and let's talk again on Tuesday. Thanks, everyone.